The nation celebrates as the Harambee Stars get a first win at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations by beating neighbors Tanzania 3-2 and reviving hopes of qualifying for the second round in Egypt. Head coach Sebastian Minya is now cautiously optimistic ahead of the final Group C match against Senegal on Monday. Hello and thank you for making time for us this Friday, 28th June 2019, live from the Nation's Center here in the capital. NTV Weekend Edition starts right now. Tonight, the National Land Commission misled the Education Ministry and your 1.5 billion shillings was illegitimately spent. We dig into the details. Also tonight, the narratives, claims and demands following an alleged plot on the Deputy President's life.
He should by now have asked the ministers involved to step aside or suspend them. That's politics.
Plus, a score for Kenya. Bullseye. From a song to reality, Starehe Member of Parliament's dream comes true.
I direct that the respondent shall be held for 3 working days.
And the return of Moses Akaranga.
Niki tanga tanga hapa dunia hamadui wengi wananisumbua.
From pastor to governor and now a village crier.
Oh, hallelujah!
This is NTV Weekend Edition with Edmond Nyabola.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. To our top story, the government lost 1.5 billion shillings when it paid for the controversy-riddled Ruaraka land. The High Court this afternoon, in its findings, noted that the land actually belonged to the public, should not have been paid for, and was sold as a result of the National Land Commission misleading the Education Ministry. This corroborates the report by the Senate's County Public Accounts and Investments Committee, which the Senate shot down. The court's pronouncement sends the responsible agencies back to the drawing board, and as Ken Mijungu reports, no measures, including recovery, are too remote to contemplate.
The cloud of controversy around the Ruaraka land refuses to dissipate. A 3-judge bench found the 1.5 billion shilling payment irregular and faulted the National Land Commission for misleading the Ministry of Education. The bench found the documents produced in court seeking to confirm the ownership of the disputed land were not conclusive.
There was no defendant, there were only interested parties, and they are always to assist the court to answer those questions.
When the land was sold, Fred Matiang'i was the Education Cabinet Secretary and Bailio Kipsang was the Principal Secretary when the monies were paid by the ministry to Francis Mburu. The Senate's County Public Accounts and Investment Committee had the matter and recommended action taken against the two. But in what came across as a surprise move, senators rejected the report on the floor, giving Matiang'i and Kipsang reprieve. The senators accused Kajwang's committee of going beyond its powers and mandate in making the recommendations. The committee left the matter to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Director of Criminal Investigations, and the Director of Public Prosecution. Francis Mburu said the land belonged to him and that successive governments had tried to take it away. He claimed that part of where the local community in Ruaraka settled was annexed illegally. He also claimed he has never been compensated despite evidence that showed some parts of his parcel had been utilized by the government.
I gave an undertaking to the National Land Commission. I signed an indemnity. Yes. If anything happens, I'll return the money. It's not a big deal. I get from the county government 30 billion. I return 1.5 billion.
And compensation?
The judge's finding now sends those involved in the case back to the drawing board. The government may need to recover the monies paid out. In fact, a preservation order is in place. action could also be taken against those mentioned as having been involved in the deal, such as the CS Matiang'i, PS Kipsang, as well as the then leadership of the National Lands Commission. Francis Mburu can also opt to appeal the ruling that now paints him as having presided over one of the biggest individual involved land scam of our time. The total compensation was to be in the region of 3.2 billion shillings. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Now, within the next 2 weeks, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu may have to step aside to pave way for corruption investigations in the matter the Director of Public Prosecutions has filed against her to the Judicial Service Commission. The JSC has confirmed receipt of the petition a day after DPP Nuruddin Haji filed it. The Commission says it will convene a sitting which could see Mwilu asked to step aside to allow for investigations into her conduct. Registrar of the Judiciary, Ann Amadi, has told NTV that the petition has been certified as urgent and the sitting will be convened within the next 2 weeks. DPP Haji wants Mwilu sent home for abuse of office by breaching the Judicial Code of Conduct. This is the second petition filed against the DCJ after the High Court blocked her prosecution in May. Now, Kenyans have had it. They are tired. You ask why? Well, there are many reasons, but we choose to go with the ever-increasing electricity bills and depreciating services from the Kenya Power Company. It gets even more frustrating to hear Kenyans may have been paying bills for other people after the Directorate of Criminal Investigations revealed they are investigating over 200 Kenya Power staff and customers involved in the fraudulent scheme in the postpaid billing system. Mark Masai has the story of one frustrated power consumer.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations has sent shockwaves within Kenya Power, where some staff members, brokers and customers are being investigated over an alleged theft syndicate that has left many Kenyans paying abnormally high electricity bills. James Wetangula from Tuti village in Bungoma County is one of the Kenyans who feel powerless under the weight of ever-increasing electricity bills from Kenya Power. He says he has been connected to the national grid since 1998 and fails to understand how his bills have been going up, yet he has not installed heavy electrical appliances. The numbers have been changing on this meter since the beginning of the year, from 1,500 shillings to an average of over 2,500 shillings.
12th June, they brought another bill of 2,700 and about 700. So immediately I visited the office. I said, my friend, what is happening?
This may well be the experience of many Kenyans facing inflated bills and dimming services. And this is an example of a lower, ununderstandable spike in power bills, with some Kenyans getting bills that are tens of times higher than they would ordinarily pay based on their consumption.
The government is also going just in circles. Sisi ndio tunaumia. We are paying things that paying for services we don't receive.
Bwana Wetangula fully supports the ongoing investigations by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, which has summoned over 200 persons to record statements next week.
We are building a powerhouse. I have agreed with my children. We want to get me a generator and we'll do away with Kenya Power. We are fed up with how they are treating us. It's not only me.
Unless Kenya Power gets that light bulb moment, the powerless Kenyans may increasingly turn to alternatives like solar power, just like Bwana Wetangula, and switch them off. Mark Masai, NTV.
Now, the Kenya Power says that last year it received information on fraudulent activities targeting unsuspecting customers and immediately commenced investigations on the alleged activities. It found that there were cybercrimes involving staff and members of the public, and adds that disciplinary action on members of staff found culpable have been initiated. This actually is an issue that touches, many Kenyans, as the case is a case that they have been paying actually bills for other people, and I'm sure most of you have stories to tell about this. Now, debate on the alleged plot to assassinate the deputy president won't go away just yet, with some politicians now calling on the president to treat the claims seriously. The DP, I should say, is yet to publicly comment on the issue, but politicians allied to him have kept the matter alive, calling for the resignation of the officials named in the alleged plot. Charity Mwangi has that report.
A cheery deputy president sat amongst the crowd at Strathmore University. The ceremony was the graduation of his daughter. He seemed to relish in the company of everyday folk in an equally celebratory mood. His demeanor relaxed, a far cry from the crisis his supporters seemed to declare in regards his security.
If a deputy president can be threatened or feels insecure, what about you, common mwananchi like a student or mwalimu mkuu? Si watakuwa tu kitu kidogo?
Allegations of a plot to assassinate the deputy president have put politicians perceived to be in his camp on edge, demanding that action is taken to determine the credibility of the allegations. They have also demanded that those involved face the full force of the law.
I want to ask His Excellency the President to allow serious and thorough investigation into this serious allegation about assassination of his own principal assistant. He should by now have asked the ministers involved to step aside or suspend them. And if we do not see serious action and commitment to thoroughly investigate this matter from the highest level in this office, it means we are taking this matter casually.
However, for the first time since the allegations emerged, ICT Cabinet Secretary Joseph Musheru has voiced his explanation of what he says is a politicized debate that has no basis nor proof.
I'm working on development for the whole country, and this is what the president has asked us to do. So whether, like yesterday, we met Nyanza leaders, no one has said a word about us meeting Nyanza leaders. But if we meet Mount Kenya leaders, there seems to be a lot of issues. So that's politics. As we are business people, tumepatiwa kazi na rais, and we're doing it. So I don't feel anything. Me, I just do the work that I'm supposed to do.
Musheru is one of the 4 ministers alleged to have met to plot the killing. The cabinet secretaries were early this week summoned by the DCI. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and the Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai attended an event today but remain mum on the matter. Meanwhile, the Deputy President is carrying on with his life carefree, as can be seen here, with his bodyguards seemingly more worried than he is, or just as worried as his lieutenants. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Now, despite accusations of plotting the assassination of Deputy President, the Cabinet Secretaries accused remain defiant and vow to continue holding their meetings. The proponents, Information's Joe Musheru, Industries Peter Munya, Health CS Cecily Kariuki and Roads James Masharia, insist they are carrying out a presidential mandate on regional development. Will the meetings continue, or do their mere existence threaten to split the cabinet? Grab your copy of the Saturday Nation tomorrow for this and much more. Away from that, a 42-year-old man in Lamu County has been sentenced to serve life in prison after he was found guilty of defiling 3 minors aged below 11 years. Mohammed Ibrahim Jafar is said to have committed the offense on diverse dates in September of 2018 in Riyadh area in Lamu town. The accused lured the minors, who were playing with other children, to his house where he committed the heinous act. Lamu Principal Magistrate Alan Temba declared the accused as a sex pest and maintained that the life sentence imposed was lawful, as it is the minimum penalty prescribed by the act of defilement against a minor below 11 years old. Now, if you own a gun and did not go through the state-directed vetting, you have 7 days to report to the nearest police station or risk being considered a criminal. This is a statement by the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i to over 4,000 people holding guns but are not vetted. In light of a report issued on the firearms vetting, the government has cancelled the licenses of some gun dealers in the country. Mel Miendo reports on the details regarding the guns and their owners.
4,407 firearm holders failed to show up during the Firearms Licensing and Control Board's vetting of gun owners. Of the 13,805 registered gun holders in the country, only 9,398 were vetted.
These 4,407 people. Report to the nearest police station and surrender yourself there. At the expiry of the next 7 days, we have agreed with IG that any one of those 4,407 people will be treated as armed and dangerous criminals because they're not licensed.
In a report by the Firearms Licensing and Control Board, 6,958 firearm holders had certified holding certificates, while another 304 certificates were revoked. 9,586 firearms were certified, but 1,493 guns, including 70 semi-automatic rifles, were withdrawn. The board further withdrew 21,732 ammunition from the private firearm holders. Out of the 33 registered gun dealers, 23 were inspected, 10 not traced, while 13 of them had their licenses cancelled. One gun dealer has been suspended.
From 1st of August this year, all private firearm holders will be expected to show the certificate of holder. And
Melmiendo, NTV.
Here.
Starehe Member of Parliament Charles Jaguar, popularly known as Jaguar, will stay in police custody for another 5 days as the High Court denied him bail today. The court made the ruling in favor of the prosecution, which had asked for more time to carry out investigations into the charges against the Member of Parliament. Jaguar is accused of incitement to cause violence. His arrest was in relation to his remarks in a video where he is seen talking about foreign traders in Kenya, accusing them of dominating markets in Nairobi and harassing local traders. He was arrested outside Parliament on Wednesday afternoon to the chagrin of his supporters, who accused the police of intimidation and harassment. Now, there have been many calls for a referendum and almost as many reasons for it. County governors have not been left out in the debate. They have vowed not to support a referendum unless it entrenches in the constitution allocation to the counties as 45% of revenue of the previous year. The Council of Governors Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya maintains that devolution is working, but money issues are the main issue. Vincent Oduor tells us what exactly these are and what was paid at the 2019, or rather said at the 2019 State of Devolution Address.
The 6th Annual State of Devolution Address and the Council of Governors Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya sought to defend the success of devolution, singing its praises. But the song had key chords of discord. A key one was on financing and the disharmony in intergovernmental relations. 6 years into the devolved system, the COG says some of the challenges still facing devolution are the lack of mechanism to ensure that transferred functions and resource allocation are commensurate, delay of disbursement of funds allocated to the county governments, insufficient funds allocation to the counties, as well as duplicity of functions, laws and policies being passed by the National Assembly without the involvement of Senate.
The fiscal space for county government to access external loans is yet to be made available, thereby limiting counties' resources envelope.
Governor Oparanya also says the counties have made tremendous improvement in the education and agriculture sectors, but the health function has not been in good health, citing insufficient funding and perennial health workers' strikes. Many of these issues have partly informed the continuing calls for a referendum. The COG has set its conditions.
The council, therefore, shall not support a constitutional referendum unless it entrenches in the constitution the allocation of shareable revenue to counties at 45% of revenue of the previous year.
Currently, there is a stalemate between the National Assembly and the Senate over the division of revenue bill. The National Assembly wants 316 billion shillings allocated to the counties, while the Senate wants the counties to be allocated 327 billion shillings. According to a report by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, 49% of corruption and economic crimes being prosecuted since 2014 involve senior county officials. words that have been reiterated by many, including those facing graft charges in court. Concerns reign on whether the additional resources, if handed to counties, will fully benefit Mwananchi or just some corrupt officials and their allies.
Vincent Odur, NTV, Nairobi.
Nandi Governor Stephen Sang says his security detail, both at work and at home, have been withdrawn, putting his life at risk. Sang claims the Ministry of Interior withdrew his security detail following his attempts to reclaim parts of the Kibwari tea plantation in Nandi County.
It is fine that you have taken my security, but I'm asking you not to harm me, because what we know is that sometimes you withdraw security so that you make somebody, you create a vulnerability around a leader for you to be able to harm them. What I'm asking them, you can keep the security that you have withdrawn, that is fine, but allow me to continue discharging the responsibility and mandate given to me by the people of Nandi without any intimidation.
There is a fresh injection into the fight between the Kirinyaga County and the healthcare workers against that county government. Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union says the county's figures of numbers of medics working in the county health facilities are false, and that the healthcare workers who have been hired to replace those the county resolved to fire are largely interns. KMPDU has once again said it wants the health docket moved back to the national government.
Don't be cheated. As we speak, there is no qualified healthcare worker.
On that note, let's take our first short break on NTV Weekend Edition this Friday. Don't go too far, we still have plenty more for you.
Jumia Anniversary Sale is live now. Get the Y9 Prime 2019 24,900.
Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now, Dr. Abbas Gule, the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society, has announced that he will step down from the role at the end of the year. Gule attended what is effectively his last annual general meeting. The outgoing Secretary General says he has enjoyed every minute of his 45 years of service at the Society, 11 of which he spent as the Secretary General. Although the Society has been marred by its fair share of controversy, especially with the Kenyans for Kenya initiative, Gule says that he leaves the organization with a clean conscience and gratitude for being able to serve Kenyans. Dr. Asha Mohammed will take over as the new leader of the humanitarian organization.
County or an outbreak of chikungunya and neutrality, and yet at the same time being able to reach the
14 years later, here we are. We've moved mountains. Very proud to have been part of it, a small part of it.
It's somebody that I have always worked with, somebody that, of course, I have admired what he has been able to do. And so when I say mixed feelings, it's because, yes, those are very big shoes, as you can imagine.
From that story, let's have a look at a story that we had on the first part of our broadcast tonight, and it was a mix of pain and relief, and it's not that actually. It's about the healthcare issue in Kirinyaga County, where a fresh injection of fight in the battle with the county and between the county and the healthcare workers there is still ongoing 31 days later. Let's have a look at that.
Chorus in unison. The expression of harmony in staying the course. The course of not bowing to the Kirinyaga County government's demands on the situation in which medics end their work term, which has them 31 days into a strike. Thursday saw demonstrations and running battles between striking medical workers and police outside Kirinyaga Governor Anwar Guru's office. Meanwhile, the county government on the same day resolved to withhold June salaries of striking medics, fired the 540 striking doctors, clinical officers, nurses, medical laboratory staff, and other medical personnel. Retain 98 health workers who supported the 251 staff during the strike, and hire additional health workers to replace those who have been dismissed.
As we speak, there is no qualified healthcare worker working in any health facility in Kirinyaga County. Anybody you see is unqualified, and if you go to them, you are endangering your life.
There's no one to monitor health in Kirinyaga. That is how bad this county is. We have said that not only Kerogoya Level 5 Hospital is dilapidated, all the 56 facilities in this county are dilapidated.
KMPDU says Kirinyaga County has failed to manage the health sector as envisioned in the Constitution.
Unions were contemplating to activate that mechanism of transfer of function from county government of Kirinyaga to back to the national government.
Oroko further condemned the county's actions, saying they will push for establishment of a National Health Commission that will be mandated with the welfare of health workers in the country. Helen Aura, NTV.
And to a story that has received a lot of attention since NTV highlighted it. It was a mix of pain and relief for 20-year-old Maureen Mukula as she finally laid to rest her late mother after months of agony. Maureen lost her mother, Catherine Dinda, in September of 2018, but was unable to befit her with a simple send-off due to lack of funds. After some fees were waived and some money raised, she still had a shortfall of 20,000 shillings for the bare minimum funeral expenses. NTV highlighted her plight and well-wishers came to her rescue. The Sonko rescue team, one of the supporters, bought a casket and assisted her in burial arrangements. Dinda, who died at the age of 37 years, now rests away from the mortuary, and so for Maureen.
Songo, Mungu aendelee na kumbariki zaidi.
On behalf of everyone, of the family, I should say, thanks to everyone who contributed in any way. And this story was broken by NTV, and now the family can actually breathe a sigh of relief after that assistance. Let's take a short break. Again, we have NTV Business coming up with Dan Mwangi.
Fresh Fry Premium Cooking Oil now has a new look and an advanced spout and seal. Triple refined, zero cholesterol and natural vitamin E. Fresh Fry, always heart friendly. Now
Good evening and welcome to NTV Business. My name is Dan Mwangi. Now, Kenya and the Israeli firm contracted to develop the 7.2 billion shillings Galana-Kulalu food security project are headed for an ugly divorce as the government prepares to terminate the contract 7 months before the contractor completes the pending works for the model farm. The National Irrigation Board has already taken over operations at the site as the Ministry of Agriculture says it may terminate the controversial contract next week. Victor Kiprop reports.
After several months of push and pull between Green Arava, the Israeli contractor, and the National Irrigation Board, the rocky marriage at the center of the mega food security project is headed for a divorce.
I have only next week to come up with a decisive decision, either for the contractor to go or for NIB to allow the contractor to finish the works.
NIB, which has already put 1,000 acres of the project under crop, accuses Green Arava of inflating the cost of production, rendering the project loss-making.
He was doing 1 acre for 90,000 Kenya shillings. We have only spent 27,000 per acre. We are approximating that the maximum we shall use will be 45,000 per acre. That tells you we are automatically going to make a profit.
In its ambitious projections, NIB says it expects to harvest an average of 32 bags per acre and will put the entire 10,000-acre model farm under crop by February next year. So far, the project has gobbled at least 5.9 billion shillings of taxpayers' money, with little to show for it, even as the country continues to import maize.
definitely there was a question of mismanagement bordering on corruption. So these issues, we shall leave them to the investigative bodies. What is this magic that we have done that we can now do the same 1 acre for 45,000?
To terminate the contract or not to, as the ministry prepares to make the major decision on the future of the project, the cost of signing up a new contractor and the terms of the loan agreement with the Bank of Lamu, which is the main financier, will play into action. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business, Nairobi.
Now, inflation has inched up to standard 5.7% in June 2019, which is a rise from the 5.4% reported in the preceding month and pushing it to its second highest point over the last 6 months. This signals a faster rise in general prices of goods and services in the market, something that is piling additional strain on household budgets, especially those of low-income earners. The inflation rise in June was attributed to an uptick in the prices of food items such as maize, beans and green grams, as well as a rise in the cost of electricity and gas. The rise notwithstanding, inflation still stands within the Central Bank of Kenya's target band of 2.5% to 7.5%. President Uhuru Kenyatta has assented to the appropriations bill, which means that the allocations for spending in the 2019-2020 budget have been finalized. The signing of the appropriations bill is one of the key steps in the budget cycle since it entrenches the allocations made by the National Treasury. In the new financial year, which begins next week, the government has plans to spend in excess of 3 trillion shillings, and to do so successfully, it says it will borrow 607.8 billion shillings. Let's bring it closer home, quite literally. The Nation Media Group has announced that it has plans to relaunch QTV 3 years after the Kiswahili station was merged with NTV in a move aimed at strengthening its broadcasting division. The company's 56th annual general meeting held Friday in Nairobi, NMG reported a 19% growth in its digital footprint to total 37 million users a month.
As our second television channel, as you know, QTV has been running NTV content. But now we want to relaunch it as a standalone television channel. We are very optimistic about this group's future, given the resources we have at our disposal, the innovation we have seen within our young men and women, and we are very confident that this group is going to go places.
The company navigated the murky business environment to post a profit after tax of 1.1 billion shillings, which was a dip from last year.
The earnings were very much adversely affected by the drop in newspaper sales and reduced advertising revenues across the region, which dropped by about 9% compared to 2017.
The shareholders are set to receive a final dividend of 3 shillings and 50 cents per share, which, together with the interim dividend of 1 shilling and 50 cents per share paid on 30th September 2018, makes a total of 5 shillings per share.
Digital revenues grew by 13%, an indication that the future, which is driven by digital, is looking well. In Uganda, we have a new television station, Spark TV. The performance for Spark TV was exceptional, with a profit growth of 130% compared to the previous year.
I have a proposal.
Wilfred Kiboro will still hold the helm of the company after he was re-elected to lead the board for another year. Professor Hubner and Anwar Punawala were also re-elected as members of the board for another year. NMG's Group Financial Director, Richard Tobiko, was confirmed as a director in the board. Dennis Aluanga, Francis Okello and Simon Kagugube were also re-elected. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
Now, coming from the bosses to the boss, it has been a relatively favorable week at the NSC, that's the Nairobi Securities Exchange, with investors raking in a 34 billion shillings gain compared to the close of last week. The market capitalization closed Friday's trade at 2.28 trillion shillings, up from 2.24 trillion at the close of last week. This means investor wealth gained at 1.5% this week, marking a rebound from last week's decline. In the week under review, the number of shares traded declined to 87 million shillings, 7 million, I beg your pardon, from 92 million last week, but the value traded remained unchanged at 2.7 billion shillings. The week under review was dominated by Safaricom and the banking sector, which accounted for 47% and 38% respectively of the value traded. The horticulture industry is said to be worth 250 billion shillings and Kenya's biggest foreign exchange earner. But this industry has come close to falling from grace due to food safety concerns, especially for consignments for exports. The situation was so bad in 2014 when the European Union threatened to ban Kenya, causing the government to take frantic steps not to lose the crucial market. Tonight on Food Friday, Jaguar revisits the food safety concerns and the programs put in place to address the challenges.
The European Union is Kenya's biggest horticulture export market, but in 2014, a lot of Kenya's exports were flagged due to safety concerns, prompting the EU to put Kenya on notice. This notice sent the horticulture industry into panic, desperate to save that market. Since then, a lot more focus has gone into educating farmers on how to ensure food safety right from the farm level, following the discovery that many farmers did not follow procedure when handling food and pesticides.
Mimi nawafunza sana, nikiwa unatumia hiyo dawa, fuata hiyo maagizo yenye imeandikwa hapo. Kisha ukishamaliza na hiyo mikebe, itoboe, alafu weke kwa shimo.
Kama ni mimea kumepigwa dawa, tunahakikisha hakutaingiwa. Huwa tunafunga vitambaa nyekundu kuonyesha hiyo shamba si salama ya kuingiwa. Ya pili, kama siku zimeisha za hiyo hatari, unaondoa kitambaa hiyo nyekundu, unaweka kitambaa ya yellow. Hiyo ni kusema, ukiweka ya yellow inasema unaweza ingia lakini usi ukavuna.
Issues of maximum residue limits in both plant and animal-based foods is one of the greatest food safety concerns that the country still struggles with, especially with reports indicating that the burden of concern is greater in the local market than the export market. This is because while export produce that violate safety standards can easily be intercepted at the point of exit, the local market is not subjected to similar checks.
Border crop inasaidia sana. Ukishapiga hii mimea iko pande hii na ile ingine inaharvestiwa, yani iko inafuniwa ile, hii dawa iwezi ruka pande ile. Hii mimea itasaidia kukunywa hii dawa isiruke pande ile.
Enforcing the food safety regulations in the country is quite a challenge for regulators because most of the food system locally is still informal. The local horticulture market is estimated to be worth 150 billion shillings. The government, however, is hopeful that it will streamline the industry and is working on putting together a national food safety authority to address this, especially on issues traceability.
How many Kenyans are dying daily because of being fed by pesticides? How many Kenyans are dying today because of mismanagement of these sectors? Because true to it, there is a cow being injected now, and that cow will be milked in the evening. Right now, as we speak, there are vegetables that are being sprayed somewhere, and they will be in the market tonight. And this must be stopped.
Building the capacity of the various players in the entire agricultural value chain is one of the ways through which food safety is being addressed. And 2 months ago, the Micro Enterprises Support Program Trust signed a 572 million shilling deal with the Danish government to train farmers in 13 counties in the dairy, horticulture and aquaculture value chains to follow food safety procedures when handling food. Zainab Wandati, NTV, for Food Friday.
That's it for business. My name is Dan Mwangi. Have yourself a good night and a great weekend ahead.
Making my family some nutritious porridge is a painstaking process. First, I have to find all the ingredients needed, and there are many. For vitamins, proteins, and minerals, I need cassava, sorghum, millet. You no longer need to go through all that to make nutritious porridge. All you need is NutriPro.
You don't have to go through the trouble of finding.
Welcome back now to your favorite part of the Friday broadcast. Fighting for relevance is a daily struggle, especially if you are a politician. It's every politician's dream to be seen, heard, and loved. And to achieve this absurdity sometimes creeps into the game. Surprisingly, many get away with it. And as Emmanuel Juma now reports on Bullseye, the phrase, "Be careful what you wish for, it might just come true," now rings true for the Starehe Member of Parliament, Charles Jaguar.
When Jaguar chose to modify that name to Jaguar, he knew exactly what he was doing. It is a jungle out there, and his sixth sense must have told him he needed Jaguar-like speed and agility to survive. But even Jaguar gets caged, especially when he allows his mouth to get into a free-for-all mode.
Ya watu wametoka nchi za nje wanakuja kufanya kazi hapa. Na mimi nataka niseme leo, mimi napea serikali masaa 24. Kama hao watu watakuwa wamerudi kwao, mimi kama mjumbe wa hapa, tutaingia kwa hizo maduka wanafanyia kazi. Tutaingia kwa hizo maduka wanafanyia kazi, sisi tutawatoa, tutawapiga na tutawapeleka airport.
Now, after the Harambee Stars versus Taifa Stars match, he may argue that he meant to say we'll beat them on the pitch and ensure they return to the airport empty-handed. Not even that could convince the judge.
I direct that the respondent shall be held for 3 working days.
To jail he goes. And now look at this. The man sang about being in prison one day. And it seems he's working hard to actualize that dream. Let's just say he loves to juggle many balls at the same time.
As you know, most youth didn't go through vocational training. Most of the youths we are talking about most youth, as you know.
Come on, Jaguar, try Kiswahili or even mother tongue.
Apana.
Keep going, keep going.
Don't have those youths.
Next time, I would rather you just sang.
Ukisikia wimbo ukisema nikiimba sana hapa dunia maadui wengi wananisu.
And if you have been wondering where Karanga disappeared to, here he is.
Maadui wengi wananisu.
He now sings. But where does he get his inspiration?
Sisi tunaongozwa na Roho Mtakatifu.
And that Roho Mtakatifu is leading him to tangatanga.
Nikitangatanga hapa dunia maadui wengi wananisumbua.
This Roho can get political, it seems.
Mimi spiki siasa. Yale mimi naambia nyinyi ni ya ukweli. Sio siasa.
Dare you tell him he's not being truthful.
Oh, hallelujah!
And this too calls for a very loud hallelujah. We yearned for the FBI, and here they are. They are here to investigate an alleged plot to end the life of the DP.
FBI?
Yes, FBI. Leave no stone unturned.
Let's go. And march.
So, is the DP's life in danger?
Is your life in danger, sir? And have you... Sir?
Back to Jaguar. How come he's so loud during rallies, but in parliament he has taken a vote of silence?
The parliament leadership denies any chances to speak in parliament.
So you have an equal chance in parliament?
Yes, I can say that. We have equal chances in parliament.
It's all about understanding. Emmanuel Juma, Bullseye, NTV.
Many would actually argue that Jaguar amevuka border as he sings in those remarks against foreigners. On that comical note, let's take another short break. When we come back, we tell you about Harambee Stars' win yesterday against the same Tanzania that Jaguar was talking about. Don't go too far.
Michael Olunga was the talk of town before the Kenya versus Tanzania Group C clash, with opposing fans wary of his pedigree in front of goal, and Olunga engineered a win that resurrected Kenya's hopes at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. But Anotwal, who is in Cairo, Egypt, shares with us what Engineer Olunga's brace and the Stars' 3-2 win in general means for the team.
After a horror show in their opening AFCON 2019 match against Algeria, Harambee Stars players reached for the Stars against Tanzania. The national
ambao walikuwa wanacheza nao, nilikuwa na uhakika kwamba hii mechi haiwezi isha vile ilivyo. Tukapata bao la kusawazisha, tukacheza tena, wakapata la pili.
bicycle kick goal, which put Kenya on equal terms with Tanzania late in the first half, is our goal of the day. AFCON and Tunisia came from behind to secure their second draw at the Africa Cup of Nations, while Algeria came out tops of the Battle of the Titans in Group C.
AFCON 2019 in association with GoTV.
Nyabola.
Thank you so much, Warode Kiru, for that. And congratulations to the Harambee Stars for beating Tanzania 3-2 yesterday. We do hope that they can go on and beat Senegal on Monday. All the best to them as they play that third match in Group C of the Africa Cup of Nations. That's NTV Weekend Edition. This Friday, we have to leave the studio because the trend is about to start with Amina Abdi Rabar. And the guests are ready. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Edmond Nyabola, and our sign language interpreter has been David Agondoa. Bye-bye.
This